That's where we're going to begin here on the show today, as it is officially official, as they say. The New England Patriots have named Jacoby Brissett their starting quarterback in Week 1. Gerard Mayo making a very brief announcement this morning. Maybe there's more coming, I'm not sure. But in the very brief announcement, Mayo said that Brissett is the starting quarterback right now, but essentially we're keeping an eye and leaving the door open for things in the future, which of course is Drake May. If you're sort of wondering why this is all happening, I don't have all the answers. But if you've watched the Patriots play in the preseason, their offensive line has been rough, to say the least. So throwing their rookie quarterback out there, maybe that is the reason why. But anyway, Week 1 of the NFL season, it's Jacoby Brissett at starting quarterback for the New England Patriots. Also, Week 1 for the Pittsburgh Steelers was announced yesterday. Mike Tomlin said he was going to make the announcement, and he did. It is Russell Wilson getting the start for the Steelers. He was battling with Justin Fields, who they traded for in the offseason for the starting gig. And at least for now, another chance to start and fix what was broken in Denver for Russell Wilson. Mike Tomlin talked about coming to the decision and how he made the decision and the timing of the decision.
As I said this past weekend after the game, we had a decision coming at the end of our work week this week regarding the quarterback position. As I also said after the game, I just thought it was appropriate to do it at this time. I think that doing it earlier than this time would have put a de-emphasis on the work that we were able to get done out here from a developmental standpoint. But I also think it's the appropriate time because as we move into next week, we need to be singularly focused as a collective on the challenges of the week, which is obviously our opener in Atlanta in the division of labor and roles within it. I met with both quarterbacks here just a few minutes ago after practice, and I informed them that Russ is QB1 going into Week 1. It was a difficult decision, but not difficult in a negative way, to be quite honest with you. It was difficult in a positive way. The decision was difficult because of what they're capable of doing. Decision was difficult because of how they have conducted themselves, as opposed to the things that they fall short in terms of capabilities or negative conduct.
I think right now it's probably the right decision for Pittsburgh to do this, but let's just be clear. Justin Fields is going to play at some point this year. We just don't know when. All right, a bizarre story on Week 1 of the NFL is coming already. How about this? This is one I didn't see coming. Now, Tom Brady, who is going to be broadcasting this upcoming NFL season, talked about being all in on broadcasting. But you can't be all in, I guess, if you're a part owner of another team. And Brady has a very small piece of the Las Vegas Raiders, so he's going to have to abide by some restrictions in his role as a Fox broadcaster. This was announced on Tuesday. He can't be in another team's facility. He can't watch practice, and he can't be at the broadcast meetings in person or virtually. So essentially going into the game, this is all just Tom Brady watching the game and telling you what he thinks. Generally speaking, the broadcasters always get advanced access to some of the information, the ideas that the coaches have had, and I guess Brady's not going to have access to that going into the year 2. Whether that affects his broadcast, it still remains to be seen. But this is just not commonplace, and again, it's not commonplace to have Tom Brady in the booth regardless. All right, the saga goes on for Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase, with his hold in, hold out, Zach Taylor said that he was going to practice. He did not. Taylor said he put his foot in his mouth, and Chase is still not practicing, still does not have a new contract. And another day goes by, and the NFL season is a week from today. So we'll see what happens there. The Chargers have traded for quarterback Taylor Heineke. They send the Falcons a conditional 6th-round pick. Justin Herbert is good to go, but Heineke will be a backup. Also, Tyler Huntley was released from the Cleveland Browns, and their roster now is down to 3 quarterbacks. Huntley pretty good, by the way, with the Baltimore Ravens. All right, Week 1, as I said, of the college football season. Week 0 was last week. This is Week 1. We got a ton of games going on tonight. Looking forward to watching all of the action and our in-game live programming, and Scott Farrell has you prepared for these games tonight. Colorado, meanwhile, is alleging that Oregon accessed private data in 2023. You may remember that game. Colorado lost 42-6 in that game last season, and it was the Buffalo's first defeat. They're claiming that somehow Oregon got access to this, and they're petitioning college football as well. Wide receiver Deion Smith, one of the top JUCOs in the land, has been working to get eligible for Ole Miss. He did not receive his eligibility. Lane Kiffin was told, so he's not going to play for the Rebs this coming season. But good news for the Florida Gators, as Montrell Jordan, their running back, who is going to replace Trevor Etienne, has been cleared to play against the University of Miami as the Gators face off with the Canes this weekend on Saturday. Another great game coming this weekend. The Astros beat the Phillies 10-0 yesterday. Yordan Alvarez hit 3 home runs for Houston as they charge toward the postseason. Paul Skeens pitched yesterday, did fine. Bullpen came in. They did not. 14-10, the final in that one. The Dodgers end up beating the Orioles 6-4. You can probably guess who homered in that game. Shohei Ohtani also stole a base, 42nd on the season. Teoscar Hernandez also homered as well. And also the Kansas City Royals have placed Michael Lorenzen on the injured list. He's pitched very well for them, but not going to be available for the next couple of weeks. He's got a hamstring strain. They're hoping that he could come back later in the month of September. All right, let's go over to the US Open. On the tennis side, Novak Djokovic, he's advanced to the 3rd round at the US Open. He becomes the first man to get to all Grand Slams and the 3rd round at all 4. Incredible run for him. And also Coco Gauff has won and couldn't really serve all that well, but she moves on to the next round. Ben Shelton and Francis Tiafoe in straight sets also have getting toward a rematch as the two get ready to meet again later this week. In the WNBA, Dearica Hamby had 21 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, final score 94-88. The biggest upset that I have seen in a long time, as the Liberty was 12.5-point favorites and the Sparks won outright in LA, 94-88. Caitlin Clark broke the rookie 3-point record. 84-80 was the final there. She now has 86 3-pointers on the season. And the Mystics beat the Sky by a final of 74-40. Angel Reese on the Sky had just 7 points on 3 of 10 shooting. For those of you getting ready for the upcoming college football season, we've got a nice little add-on to the scheduling, the odds, and potentially some picks if you're interested. Head on over to the SportsGrid app and just take out your phone and scan this QR code. It's available for iOS and Android. We'll tell you all about our lineup here, streaming on SportsGrid 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It is the SportsGrid app. It is certainly available for free, so make sure you download that as well. We've got a full slate of games coming up tonight in college football, and also an announcement in the National Football League as well. 2 starting quarterbacks named starters for opening week. Jacoby Brissett for the New England Patriots, Russell Wilson named starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So those are the 2 big pieces of news as we enter. And now we know every single starting quarterback going into the season, barring some sort of health issue, you can place your bets and feel at least comfortable knowing that as well. So is there any comfort factor going into this first week of college football? In case you missed it last weekend, week 0, the underdogs were barking in a very big way. A lot of covers, a lot of outright wins with big underdogs. We saw that, of course, between Georgia Tech and Florida State. So the question is, has the transfer portal and these NIL deals made it very difficult to handicap college football, at least initially, until we know who these teams are? Welcome back to Newswire here on SportsGrid. Matthew Waters is with us today from Legal Sports Report. By the way, everything we discuss available over at LegalSportsReport.com. Great website, catching you up with the business of sports betting and a whole lot more. Matt, great to have you back here on Newswire. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
All right, so let's get started with this stunning revelation that you guys have over at Legal Sports Report. Hold on a second here. Wait for it. People who are betting a lot of money and gambling on sports are having a hard time paying their bills. I mean, this is a stunning revelation, Matt, that you have here on Legal Sports Report, is it not?
You know, it is, Craig, and I understand what you're saying. Obviously, it makes sense to link some of those together, but now we have some real actual data points that are able to point out what's happening in some areas. We had 3 different reports. One was a TransUnion report, and that mostly focused on what you just said. 44% of online gamblers that gamble more than $500 a month monthly say they're not able to pay all of their bills. That compares to 24% of the non-gamblers that they talk to. Nearly half of the gamblers that bet $500 monthly or more have a bill that's been past due for 90 days or longer. And then there were 2 academic studies. We have one here out of Northwestern that looks at where the income distribution is coming from and and how much is being deposited. And it looks like those with less are depositing a bigger share of sports betting dollars. Now, this isn't a new idea at all, Craig. When you think about lottery, if you go and you look at the statistics on lottery, it is usually those lower income households that buy the lion's share of lottery. So this isn't a new trend necessarily that we're seeing. What I can say, Craig, is that I just got another study, another academic study that looks at it a little differently and says, yes, some people are struggling with this, but it's not an overarching issue that everybody needs to be afraid of. The other study that I looked at for this says that the financial issues really start about 2 years into a state once they have legalized sports betting. And that makes sense too, right? You think about all the promotions that are given out up front. And then you think about how when you are a customer of these gambling sites, quarter after quarter, all we hear is that they're getting more and more money out of these customers. So your spend starts to creep up as the time goes on. And so that's what it's looking like. The 2-year mark is a little shaky in some of these states with some of the data that we got. But I would encourage anybody interested in that, definitely go over to LSR to check out the article. We link to all of the studies directly. You can check it out yourself. And we'll have more coming on that other study I mentioned.
Yeah, no, I like data. I like hearing this information. But, again, for me, I'm just a little cynical when it comes to, individual who is having a hard time paying bills. What's the reason? You're betting on sports. Could be the case. Okay, so now what's the latest here with the NFLPA suing DraftKings? The NFLPA, just like the NFL, they want their piece of the pie here. Are they entitled to this? Do you feel like there is something to stand on here? I believe it's $65 million they feel like they're owed.
Yeah, it's about 65 million. Craig, it's hard to say right now. DraftKings is trying to say that they don't owe this money because the NFT product that DraftKings and the NFLPA partnered on, they shut it down due to legal issues. And it looks like the legal issues that they're talking about are whether NFTs can be classified as securities or not. Now, when they wrote up the contract with the NFLPA, it did include an out for them that said if NFTs at any point are categorized as securities or other various other things they could have been listed as, that allows DraftKings to break the contract. And so that is what they are saying they're doing, that they do not owe this money. And the NFLPA is saying, of course you owe this money. First of all, the ruling that it wasn't even a ruling that says the NFTs are securities. It was simply a court allowing the case to continue. So there is a lot of us assuming going on there that would go through the way that DraftKings at this point hopes it does. And the NFLPA, they really took a big swing at DraftKings on this, and they listed out the compensation for 5 of their executives since that NFT partnership was going on. And it came out to more than $260 million since 2021, Craig. That's a lot of money that's going to executives. And so they're saying, how do they not have $65 million to pay what they legally have to pay as part of a binding contract? So we're going to be watching this for a while. It is not a good look for the NFL and the NFLPA to be having this big of a beef with one of their authorized sports betting partners. And DraftKings has had a rocky month, and it's been up and down for them. They got a great headline this morning. They are buying simple bets, so they're going to add in AI pricing, and their offerings and live betting and parlays will be a little deeper. So that's a great headline that sent the stock green this morning. But yeah, a couple of lawsuits going on for DraftKings right now, and it's more negative headlines than positive heading into the football season for them.
Oh, look, if they don't get the money, they could just charge everybody minus 140 on all games, right? And just do it that way. I'm kidding. I'm being facetious. Okay, so, the idea of cracking down on illegal sports books, we've known this going on for years. There's a lot of people who feel that more attention needs to be paid toward this. So we do have one story here as we're going to end here, Matt. It does seem like, though, the reason why this particular illegal sports book was pinched was because of an association with a casino. It feels like that's more of the story here. Am I wrong about that?
Well, it's that, and that it's also that if the casino is the casino that it seems like it is, then this is also the casino that was involved with Matthew Boyer, who was the illegal bookmaker that took those bets from Shohei Ohtani's former interpreter. So this is it's a bigger web that was weaved here, it looks like. And his name is Damian LaForbes, and he pled guilty to operating the sports book and to money laundering. Couldn't think of the word there. He's a poker player, and he spent a lot of time in Vegas. And why it seems like it could be the same casino is that the Nevada Current back in May reported that LaForbes owed that casino, Resorts World Las Vegas, $12.3 million after nearly 4 dozen trips to the casino. Now, LaForbes was said to cash checks at this casino and to receive chips for the casino in terms of payment. And Craig, some of the numbers here are just staggering. He executed at least 17 personal checks over about 2 years at Casino A, is how it's known in the paperwork. That was for $9.1 million, including a $1 million check last April. $2.8 million in cash was also presented to that casino in the same time frame. Craig, he bet more than $148 million over those 2 years in Las Vegas before he was caught. So that's a lot of money, and certainly that 9.1 and 2.8 don't add up to 148. So there's a lot to still be found out here. And you know what, Craig? This is just me from a personal example, but if I was doing something nefarious, I don't know that I would stay necessarily just in one spot. There are a lot of casinos on the Las Vegas Strip, Craig. And even off of the Strip, there are a lot of casinos that have sports books, and you just don't know how far this reaches, how far it goes. It's great that we are catching these guys and weeding them out, but it's those headlines that the sports betting industry hates to see.
No, they do. And by the way, like 2 stories all year on stuff like this. Not 100, 2. That's it. All right, Matt, great to see you again. Enjoy your weekend. Thanks again for coming on Newswire.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it.